Good evening, Hernandez families. I hope this message finds you well. Many of you received a message from BPS today requesting for you to choose between 5 days in person and 5 days in remote instruction for the remainder of the year. We know that BPS is only giving you a week to make that crucial decision because of the legal constraints they're facing in having to potentially open for 5 days in April. So as a parent, I would want to make this decision with as much information as possible in hand. So here's what we know. Under a 5-day schedule, all classrooms at the Hernandez will continue their current hybrid schedules. And Wednesday's schedule is the only change, will now reflect the same 8:30 a.m. starting times as our other 4 days of the week. We will also be canceling the weekly staff meeting on Wednesday mornings to be able to make that happen. Your homeroom teachers will communicate any other minor changes directly to you, but we don't see any overhaul beyond that start time on Wednesday morning being 8:30. We've received a few questions so far that we can answer quite quickly for you via video. One, many families have asked, what happens if we don't respond to the survey by the 22nd? Officially, BPS has told us that if families don't complete the survey, students in the hybrid model, whether it's cohort A or cohort B, are going to be automatically assigned to the 5-day in-person learning model option. Students who are currently in full remote will remain in the fully remote learning model. All learning model change requests received by March 22nd, that's the big deadline, will be honored. Another question we've gotten was, what happens if I decide to send my student to school 5 days a week after March 22nd? If a change is requested after March 22nd, there may be a delay of several weeks in processing that request. That delay would be on BPS's end, so that schools have an opportunity to prepare for students to return, and more specifically, the thing that would take the longest is routing transportation. The third question we've gotten is, can I still send my students 2 days a week if they're currently in a hybrid model? Unfortunately, hybrid learning where students learn in school for 2 days a week and remotely for the rest will no longer be an option. How does attendance work is another question that we've gotten. So if a family chooses the 5 days of in-person, and it's all in person, so the student's attendance only counts when they are in person. That's the policy that BPS is asking us to hold across all 125 schools in BPS. The only exception to that rule is if a student is quarantining, so that period of being home and learning remotely does count as attendance. If a family chooses all remote, the student's attendance counts, as it always has, when they are remote. Lastly, the question we've gotten has been, what happens to my student's IEP in either model? Whether the primary instructional delivery is in person or remote, students with disabilities must receive all their services in accordance with their IEP. So we'll make sure that that happens regardless of the model of your choice. So, in the spirit of full transparency, I want to let you know that as of today, March 15th, BPS has not made some critical decisions about two things that are going to affect us as a larger community and all 125 schools. First, they've not made some critical decisions about new social distancing rules that DESE released last week. And they have also not made the critical decision around start date. So that affects how many students can we house in each classroom, and what date we start for elementary, and what date we start for middle school. BPS needs to communicate the final decision on whether or not they're going to abide by the 3 feet of social distancing between students or 6 feet as the required social distancing between students by March 22nd. Additionally, they also need to make their decision about when elementary would start in April and when middle school would start in April by Monday, March 22nd. I realize that it is incredibly frustrating that those two pieces of information will not be given to you until the due date of the decision. Nonetheless, I just wanted to share with you what we did know about Central Office's communication plan. We know that this has been an incredibly challenging year, full of impossible things to navigate. And we entreat your patience and are with you as we hopefully make our last major transition of the year. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Ana Contreras and Jessica Flores, and they can connect you to the right person. We will always share as much information as we have, when we have it, with you. Have a restful night, and we'll see many of you in the morning.
Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. And be sure to hit that notification bell so that you know what is happening at the Hernandez every week.